Hey, what's up? It's the morning after. I did the steak taste test last night. I did the one little shot of the first couple bites reviewed on camera, and then I ran we watched Jujutsu Kaisen, and then I shared The Life of Brian with my family because they hadn't seen it before, which was extra special because my wife's taken Latin. Um, anyways, I wanted to kind of deep dive that steak real quick. The flavor was phenomenal. I'm really big shout out to I think Brother Herb. I think I watched like a bunch of videos and this YouTube channel Brother Herb. Uh, the way they did their steak, I did their steak that way too. I emulated them in the air fryer steak capacity, and I'm really happy I did because the cut of steak that I had, I'd never had before. A Pope's eye. The Pope's eye was really interesting. It was like leather tender. And I had found in my research beforehand that that's just how that cut is. It comes out of the hip bone, like so. So I'm really glad I fried it. In the future, I'll probably use that cut and cuts like it for something like Salisbury steak or um, eggs Benedict or maybe chop it up and simmer it in sauces, maybe like a curry or some shit. Something where there's gonna be wet, something where there's gonna be gravy, there's gonna be sauce, there's gonna be something like that. It would also it would also be really good as maybe like inter sliced up and intermixed with chorizo. That would be really good as well. Now the flavor on um, the Longhorn Wagyu cross is it's very mild. It's not overwhelming. So once I got into the part of the steak that was what's the word I'm looking for? The thicker the eye, because it's called Pope's eye. Once I got into the thicker eye of the steak, I got to really taste the steak for the steak. That was the only part of the steak that was thick enough that I got that. Everywhere else, and I'm super grateful for it. Everywhere else was very evenly blended between my salted crust that I did and the fry flavor, right? Because I air fried it. Um, so overall, I'm super happy. Oh yeah. Before I forget, I'm just kind of stressing out because I'm watching the timer on this video go up, and I'm trying to do this for shorts, but I'm already at 3 minutes. Anyways, uh, the flavor is great. It's great. It's not overwhelming. I'm hoping that maintains. The parts that are tender, cut providing, are very tender, like so fucking tender, like that's going to be something I highlight with this breed going forward that I hadn't originally planned for. Um, and then I also got to say, now this part I don't know. I don't know if this was the linoleic acid count of what the cow inherited from the Longhorn breed, or if it was the fact that I grass finished her, right? But I noticed that every fucking bite was so right, like it's I don't know. I don't know how I don't have the word for it. And then my kids didn't go back for sides. That was very telling. These steaks were not any bigger than um, our typical steaks. They weren't, when I do steaks, because typically we do like stroganoff or we do some sort of ground beef meal, spaghetti or some shit like that. Tacos, spaghetti, something like that. Meatloaf, something like that. And so like we don't do a lot of steaks in this house. Just personal preference on the cooking aspect. I like to cook something that all four fucking people can get hot out of the oven. Whereas with steaks, I don't have the infrastructure for somebody to like be waiting there for the grill to come off and then for us to all eat at the same time. Anyways, that's a side tangent. I'm not trying to go on. I'll probably just have to post this as a standalone fucking after action review video because I'm almost at 5 minutes. But the steak was so filling that my kids didn't go back for sides. And one of those sides was my wife's mac and cheese. which they usually decimate. They usually fucking absolutely obliterate the fuck out of that mac and cheese. And so the fact that I have, I think, like 3/4 of a mac and cheese loaf left over, like that's very telling to me how filling the steak was. That steak, like, really, like, every single bite of steak had tons of flavor. The pockets of fat were so buttery. Um, I don't want to say I'll spend some money and get it assessed beyond my own, what I'm currently capable with my rudimentary means of carcass quality and carcass traits. Um, but I really didn't want to spend any money doing carcass trait data until I was at F3 or beyond, because that's going to be a big investment, and I just need to make it worth the investment, right? And that's another thing. I'm not gonna pay a meat guy to come out and fucking ultrasound one goddamn cow, one cow carcass. Like, not yet. I can still, if the goddamn Japanese invented this fucking base cow in the 1800s, just looking at it, like, if another human can do it, I can do it. And I've already proven a couple times now that I've got the eye for what I'm doing. I understand what I'm doing. Um, and so when I get up to scale, then I'll start reinforcing everything I'm doing at scale with the investment. But right now, while I'm at like FFA hobby size, like, I'm not going to fuck with that. Anyways, so I don't want to say that this cow is A1. So I won't. But I'm suspecting that the A1 plus gene is carrying over in this cow pretty well, um, because I've read a lot about the Wagyu profile. I've got a couple clients who have gone to Japan and, like, eaten Wagyu, uh, and they're foodies. They understand umami. They understand mouthfeel. They understand uh, chew duration and etc. Like, all the things you're looking for to, like, whatever, fucking assess food as a foodie. Um, and then I'm also keeping in the other half of my brain that, like, most fucking Americans don't want to eat it that way. They just want to, like, nom, 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 that was good. Okay, I go drink beer and watch football now. Which is fine. I'll sell to those people. I don't give a shit. Let the eaters eat. But I do want to present enough of a product that when they come forward, maybe after the football game, they start thinking back and they realize, like, I didn't eat as many chips and dip or some sort of shit like that, some sort of retrospective uh, analysis. I don't know. It's gonna be an anecdotal observation. It's not gonna be analysis. So, anyways, but she was a 2-year-old. I did not let this F1 go to 3 years old. She had too much of a bad attitude. Just wasn't going to tolerate that. I will let my Waghorn go to 3 to see the Wagyu explosion of development that comes at 3 years old. For example, Sean's back out in my pen, and now that he is back out in my pen next to my Longhorn, when we got him as a 2.5-year-old, he was smaller than my Longhorn. Now, as a 3.5-year-old, I had him out in the steel pen for 7 months, so I was getting, like, cow body dysmorphia, right? Looking at fucking, they weren't next to each other for scale. Now that they are next to each other for scale, he's like 30% bigger than that Longhorn, and so that Wagyu capacity to just really fucking explode. The first 2 years, I think I'm gonna fuck up the numbers here, but I'm just gonna throw numbers out so that you understand the difference of scale. The first 2 years, they're like, I think, like 1.5 to 2 pound gainers, daily gainers, and then after 3 years, they're like 4 or 5 or 6 pound daily gainers. Like, it's like stupid. Whatever happens with the metabolic profile of that fucking Wagyu fat gene that activates over. I think personally, I don't have any research to tell me this. This is just based on observations. I think what's happening there is the Japanese maintained the gene that allows for switching from protein to carbohydrate sooner in life. I think that's what happened. I don't know, but I think that's what happened because he just he went from being kind of like he was he was kind of a hard keeper, right? Like I'd have to just keep shoving fucking food in his face, like gain weight, you bastard, and then all of a sudden, one day he like licked grass and like put weight on retardedly, like just at an alarming rate. So I was like, okay, so in that capacity, I got to see that. So, anyways, that's kind of my current overview up on that subject thus far. So, thanks for stopping in. Stay blessed.